Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom is back, and welcome back to another episode of Garage Review. Today, the couple garages that I will be opening, or not opening, reviewing, and not even the couple, just the one garage that I'll be reviewing today, is going to be owned by a friend called PG Leo. Here are some quick statistical rundowns. He has a trophy count of just slightly over 15,000 at 15,025 and has an RQ level of 150. Now, in terms of the levels of cash and gold, it looks like he really pushes his garage to the max, only having 553 cash and 217 gold. So, before we get started, I just want to mention, if you want to submit your garage for garage review, make sure to check the link in the description below. It will send you to a Google Sheet and you can do everything there. There are also three options that you can select. There's normal queue, priority queue, and I think priority queue max. And thank you to PG Leo once again for submitting to priority queue max, which means he gets a whole video dedicated to his garage where I go through a bunch of notes on things that he should improve on, things he's good at, and just my overall, I guess, feedback. So as you can see over here, I have a whole page of notes to go by for this garage, and obviously I will have just a lot of feedback to give. So let's start off with the comments. So starting off here, very strong in this garage, and I'm going to click play. We have two Volkswagen Type 2s, Renault 4, alright, there we finally go. And we see a lot of just maxed out comments. 3 Honda Beats, which is obviously very nice to see. More Beats the merrier. We have the Citroen Mahari, and the first car that really caught my attention in the garage was actually the BMW 524 TD. I'm going to rewind it a little bit so we can look at the statistics of that car. Now, as you can see here, 9.8 0 to 60 with a handling point of 70 and a top speed of 122 for a medium ground clearance car that has standard tires and rear-wheel drive capability. Those stats are not bad for RQ4. Yeah, one of the direct competitors, I guess you could say, is the Austin Allegro, which is literally right next to it. Both cars have medium ground clearance, they both have standard tires, and you know, when you look at the statistics, there's a huge difference. Yes, one is 74 and one is 70, but then you also compare 12.10 to 60 to 9.8 and 91 to 122 top speed. Usually these are the cars that you want to use for city streets and in the rain, and at the end of the day, the 524 is going to win on both, because although it has 4 points less in handling, it is a lot faster to 60. So that is a very strong car to have. Very interesting, that 524D TD. Really wanted that in my garage, and I think looking at this car in yours is going to initiate the fact that I'm going to max one for myself. Anyway, Citroen Mahari, that's a very nice car as well. What else I got over here? You could also focus on duplicates. I've talked about duplicates in just about every garage review episode I've done, and duplicates are always something you can't go wrong with. So if you want to get a duplicate of the Renault Fuego Turbo, as well as the Pontiac Firebird Trans Am, that's RQ3, I would highly recommend that. And last but not least, shout out to the Ford Focus Coupe Cabriolet. This is a common that everybody should get. Medium ground clearance, standard tires, 9.90 to 60, and 85 handling, which is really the, I guess, the winning factor here to get that car. Now, there is one common I would recommend you to get here, Leo, and that will be the Alfa Romeo 2600 SZ. You don't have it here, but basically you want to get this Alfa because it has a top speed of 141 miles per hour if you max it out 996. In terms of commons and top drives, that is the highest top speed common you can get. Definitely king of the test pulls. Anyway, with that said, let's move on to the uncommon ranks. The first car, and one of the only cars that really caught my eye here, was indeed the Chevrolet Caprice from 1991. 8.20 to 60, handling 77, standard tires, and medium ground clearance. I mean, it has to be, I don't know that for sure, but looking at the picture, if that's low ground clearance, I would lose my mind. That is an amazing looking car actually for RQ7, and is definitely something I want to look into. One car I do have that is standard tires and RQ7 is, if we can just look at that, it is actually the Dodge Intrepid 8.5 and 80 compared to the Caprice's 8.2 and 77. So it looks like they are pretty neck and neck with this. But I would like to look at that Caprice and probably have it in my garage sometime in the future. You do have some other key cars as well, such as the Alfa Romeo 2000 and the Pontiac Trans Am from 1978 from Smokey and the Bandit. You also have the DS5, as well as the Nissan Patrols, as well as the DS4, and the Volkswagen Up Porsche 924. All very good cars. One car that you don't have, that really surprised me, considering you have a lot of key uncommons, is the Chevy Impala SS427. It's strange that you don't have that, actually. I know you have the Maserati Indy, and that gets the job done. But let's say if you're set in an American event, and there are basically drags that are 1 mile or testable, this is where the SS427 comes into play, because the GTX wouldn't do the job, considering it has a very low top speed of I think 130 something and bad MRA. Other things to note for uncommons is you can always get duplicates of more Mazda Yunus Roadsters. Those are always good to have. I have 3 of those maxed out. A Mazda RX-7 from 1985. It's RQ9 and it hits 86 handling and 6.90 to 60. And one more uncommon I would really urge you to collect is the Fiat Stilo 2.4 20V Schumacher. It is one of the best Italian Renaissance uncommon cars in the game right now. Anyway, moving on, let's go to the rare section. Now this is something that's very interesting. I only see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I only see 6 cars that are RQ11. So maybe not a huge variety in the RQ11 ranges. So because of that, one RQ11 car I would highly recommend is the Land Rover Defender 90. It's a great car, high ground clearance, decent handling for an RQ11 car, and it has off-road tires. So it's a good RQ saver for the off-road tracks. Moving on from that, I see, some things that really stand out to me that I really enjoy is the 3 maxed out Pontiac Firebird Trans Ams. Not all. 2 of them 996 and 1969. In fact, completely the same for me. I have 3 maxed out in the same ways and patterns. And also, one car that I don't see a lot of people have in their garage, which I really urge people to get, is the Pontiac Bonneville SSEI. 6.10 to 60, 83 handling, with medium ground clearance and standard tires. This car is actually very impressive, and it's a good, competitor to the Chevrolet Malibu that hits 86. I don't think you have the Malibu in your garage. I don't even have that in my notes, but let's see. Yeah, you don't have the Malibu. You don't have the Chevrolet Malibu. It hits 86 handling maxed out, so you could focus on that. Another one is the Lotus Elise 1.6. That is a huge key huge key rare that everyone has that you seem not to have, which is very interesting. A good quirk indeed, but it is quite a detrimental blow in terms of key cars in your garage. Anyway, moving on to super rare. A trend that I see in a lot of garages that I like to review, or that I review, is that, you have a lot of maxed out cars. Like, literally, I don't even see a lot of fuse material, and when I was looking at this garage earlier when I was taking notes, I realized that there aren't a lot of fuse materials to go around. So one car I would recommend here is the Roof SCR. It looks like you are going to max this out in the near future. In fact, by the time this video comes out, you might have already maxed it out. But yeah, I would recommend the SCR, and super rares that I would urge you to focus on would be the Fiat Abarth 131 Rally, because it looks like in terms of just off-road capability cars, you don't really seem to have any car that has decent handling with a mixture of medium ground clearance. You have, 2 cars of both spectrums. You have the Datsun 240Z, great handling but low ground clearance. Then you have the Renault R20 Turbo, which is 4x4, good ground clearance but has no handling. Once again, same thing for the Lamborghini LM002, great hill climb car, high ground clearance, 4-wheel drive off-road, but horrible handling. So that Fiat 131 Rally would be a good, intermediate or a good balance between both spectrums, because it has medium ground clearance and it hits 86 handling. Other cars that you should focus on for the super rare ranges would be the Mazda RX-7 from 1992, the one that used to be Ultra, which is now RQ18, and finally the Lotus Elise 111S. That was a car I got recently, and I'm slowly trying to max that out. That is a great car to have in anybody's garage. Anyway, moving on from that, we go into the ultra rare range, and this is where I get to see some really interesting things I don't see in a lot of people's garages, at least from what I've seen so far. unorthodox max outs. Alright, I see a lot of max outs that you don't see in a lot of people's garages. The first one I want to talk about is that Camaro Z28 SS, 4.10 to 60, 85 handling. That is probably the most quirkiest car I have seen in a lot of the garages I have reviewed to date. Because not only you have a car Z28 SS maxed out, not only you have that particular car maxed out, which I think is one of the most useless American dream cars in the game, you also have it maxed out at 996. I'm 99% sure that's 996 because I've seen this car hit 87 handling, and the fact that it's maxed out and it's at 85 and it has that 4.10 to 60, that is definitely 996. That is, I don't think I'll ever see a Z28 like that ever again, but props to you. I wouldn't say that's a smart decision, but it definitely is a unique one. Other cars that I would say I don't see a lot of people max out is, well, let's see. I can see you have two fuse materials right here, the 370Z and the Pathfinder, which is interesting. But here's another one. Maserati Spider Grand Sport RQ20, 4.10 to 60, 91 handling. I just don't see that often, but to be completely honest, that looks like a decent car. It cuts off the early 2000 tag, has a convertible tag, and I mean 4.1 and 91 compared to, I mean, yeah, compare this car to the Z28, which is 4.1 and 85. This car is only for 1 RQ more, a whole 6 handling points better, which kind of just solidifies the fact that the Z28 is trash, but that Spider actually looks pretty good, but I don't see a lot of that maxed out, and definitely is quite the unorthodox max out. And obviously, the Dodge Magnum SRT8, you have that, I believe, 969. I have that maxed out too, but not a lot of people have that car maxed out in common. So, very interesting to see those. And yeah, looking at the rest of the epics here, I see some really good ones. I see the 924, the BTR, 968, some very useful Porsches. The Infiniti M45 is a nice one too, and obviously you know your key ultras because I see 2 max out RS200s, 2 max out Colorado ZR2s, and then there's some really useful ultras all in all, like the M6 convertible, the 330, 440i, and the Auto Delta. Very, very nice cars indeed. So here are the notes I have for your ultras, because it looks like every ultra you have is already max, and the only 2 ultras you don't have max look like they're going to be fused material. So here are the ultras you can look out for in the future that you can max out. The Abarth 030, obviously, amazing car. If that Fiat carbon fiber comes out, I would recommend you could open one of those because it's almost a guaranteed Abarth 030. You could go for duplicates of another 924 Rally, another BTR, or just more Colorado ZR2s because you can never run out of those. And one car that you need as well as I need, this is a car that would really robust, I guess, what we're weak in, what we're both kind of weak in, and that is standard tire ultra rares. Okay, even I'm guilty of this. My garage doesn't have an amazing amount of ultra rare standard tire cars, so one car that both of us can look out for would be the Infiniti G37. This thing I think has like 89 MRA, so it is pretty good, and it also has the convertible tag to it, so it looks like a pretty good car all in all. So if you have that G37, definitely try and get that. Now, moving on to Epic. So let's see what you got over here. Straight off the bat, I'm already, what the hell am I seeing? I mean, what is that? RQ23 Audi S8 maxed out. You know, every car here can be justified. The Range Rover, the Yukon, the XT5, because those 3 used to be ultras, so you know, you didn't waste like 15 ultra rares to max out an Epic that's RQ23. But I mean, look, I'm not even going to talk about that Countach 500. You probably used that to win a prize car, which is fine, but the S8, bro, what was going through your mind when you maxed out that S8? 4.30 to 60, 90 handling. I mean, handling is weak, 4.3 is slow. I don't know why you maxed out that car. I'm just looking at it like, what? But you know what? It's a quirk. It's a feature. At that point, just keep it in your garage. Don't sell it because you just invested too much into it to let it go at that point. But I do see this is something amazing about your garage that I don't see in anybody else's garage. Even my garage doesn't have this. All, or I would say 90% of your epics are maxed out. So, you know, I see the RSR, GMC Typhoon, Mirai, Raptor, all amazing cars, all maxed out. You have 2 bananas as well. which is very nice to see maxed out. The Porsche 911 GT3 from 2006, 3.50 to 60, 99 handling. That is a very good handling car for a 25 RQ. Maxed out Boss 302, and here's another car that I kind of lost my marbles about. It was the Lamborghini Diablo, 3.30 to 60 and 88 handling. I have to say 3.3 is impressive, but then again, you know, it doesn't have great handling, so I guess you want to use it for the drags. But then you also have the Charger Hellcat, so why would you use these Diablos? I guess, you know, for Italian Renaissance you could use it, but then you already have the Thanos Diablo, the Diablo SE. So, you know, if you could explain why you have, like, the other Diablo, like, at 2 stars, like, you know, feel free. But if I were you, I would think that would just be an absolute waste. However, some very nice cars here. Ford Mustang Boss 302, F-Type convertible, the Servo, the numero 9 M2 competition. Honestly, this is one of the most organized garages. I think this is the most organized garage I've ever seen. So because of that, I mean, props to you. This is a lot of epics maxed out, and that's not an easy feat to do. One thing that I really was impressed about was the maxed out roof R compressor, the 3800 and the BTR2. Not only you have the key roofs, but you have them all maxed out as well. The Evo X, the Pagani Zonda C12, AMG GT, and of course the amazing Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat. Also, I am super jealous that you have 2 Chevrolet Corvette Z06 Lincoln filters, because those cars are absolutely amazing. Nice to see you have both of them maxed out, as well as the Superlight, the Grand Sport, the M3 CS, and the M4. Very, very solid in the epic departments. I mean, at this point, when I look at the Audi S8, I just feel like you maxed it out just because you had nothing else to max out, really. But with that said, we move on to legendaries, and you know, once again, I can't really give you advice for what epics and ultras to fuse, because most of your epics and ultras are already maxed out, and obviously you don't want to waste those. But obviously, it looks like you know what cars you want to go for. Looking at your legendaries here, let's just see. I see a maxed BMW 640i xDrive, 93 handling. 93 handling for a maxed standard tire medium ground clearance car with 4-wheel drive. I mean, that is just really impressive. And 4.30 to 60, that car isn't messing around. Some other cars here that I have to say are really impressive is the maxed out 12C, as well as the maxed out Lamborghini Aventador SV and the maxed out 911 GT2 RS. In total, it looks like you have 5 legendaries maxed out, and I mean, that is very, very impressive. That is a lot of epics that you had to give up, and I can only imagine what cars you gave up here. I have to say though, that maxed out Bugatti EB110 Supersport, why? I don't know why you did that. You have the Veyron 16.4. I feel like it would have just been a lot more, I guess, intelligent to max out the Veyron 16.4 instead of the EB110. Yeah, that's weird. I mean, the last time French Renaissance was a requirement for a final, I'm pretty sure that was for the SGC. And you do have a strong French Renaissance deck, considering you have 2 max bananas, you have both the EB110s, one of them even maxed out. But what's the point? Because you don't even have the SGC. So I don't know why you max out that EB110. Maybe you're just like Bugattis, which is a shame, because honestly, not a fan of those. And honestly, that's not even the best Bugatti in the game. The 16.4 is what you want to go for, and that is probably the weakest of the OG Bugattis. You want to go for maybe the Veyron Supersport or the Chiron, obviously. But I have to say, 5 legendary max outs is hard to achieve, and with that, we're going to give you a Blossom score. So starting off with uniqueness, definitely this is a very solid garage. I see a lot of max out, some really great cars going on, and definitely the 3 Honda Beats, the S8, as well as some other things I got noted down, such as the I wrote on the S8 and the 2-star Diablo. These are things you don't see very often. It's definitely very unique, and you have like every DS in the game, so I'm going to give you a 7. In terms of patriotism, I mean, I have to say, there were some American cars, but not a lot of American cars, but definitely a lot of French cars. So definitely I feel like you like your French cars, which is a shame because I hate them, but definitely is patriotism in its own right. So for that, I'll give you a 7 out of 10. Moving on to character. Now, not a lot of garages has every DS in the game, and that is really impressive in itself. And so because of that, I'm going to give you a 9. I was about to give a 10. I was writing down that 1 over there, but I don't think that'll be a 10 out of 10. But I have to say, DS is not a manufacturer that a lot of people collect often, and to see that you have all of them and they seem to be all maxed out as well, it's very, very impressive. So in total, that's going to be 25 25, which is actually very impressive. Let me see, 7, 7, 14, 19. So yeah, not 25 actually, it's 23, isn't it? Anyway, moving on to the top drive scale. So your scale, definitely a huge garage for 15k trophies. Very, very impressive. And for that, I'm going to give you an 8 out of 10. In terms of strength, I mean, it's pretty crazy. 5 maxed out legendaries. Bro, I have almost double the amount of trophies you have, and I have only 1 maxed out legendary. So in terms of strength, and the fact that you have most of your epics maxed out, you're getting the first perfect score ever on this channel. I'm going to give you a 10 out of 10. Moving on to versatility, you know, once again, it's a strong garage. Definitely a very decent showing. You know, you have a lot of great cars going on, but kind of like what I do, yeah, you know, we're missing out on just some really niche categories, some standard tires here and there, but you do have that really strong RQ28 BMW. But because of that, you know, we do have some potholes here and there. I'll give you an 8 out of 10. Moving on to lethal level though, lethal level is just about as much as strength. You have a very strong garage, and because of that, I'm going to give you a 10 out of 10. And finally, potential. It has to be a 10 out of 10, because if you're already starting off so strong, the fact that you can still build up from that, and the fact that you're still missing some cars, it's crazy. I would say that your legendary deck is very strong, and I would say one of your weakest ranges here would probably be maybe uncommon, no, not uncommon, rare and ultra rare, because you're missing out on some key ultra rares and especially some key rares, such as the Lotus Elise 1.7, which I'm honestly surprised that you don't have. So because of that, I'm gonna give you a, you know, potential of 10, but that's why I also give you a versatility of 8, because you're missing out some really great cars. But in total, that brings us to 38, 46. That is insane. That sets you apart from everybody else. 46 plus 23, that gives us a total of 69. So your total score is 69, and that is just insane. I mean, before that, the highest score before you was from Ryu EXE with 57, and you kind of just flew away there. Definitely have to say one of the best garages I've reviewed so far. Anyway, if you liked a garage review, once again, you can always submit your garage in the Google Sheets below. And with that said, consider subscribing, and thank you for all the support so far. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Blossom out.